My name is Dan Loyd. I am the Advanced Placement U.S. History teacher here at Allen Park High School, and this is my Meet the Teacher. I understand this isn't as good as actually sitting in my classroom and being with me in person, but that is the situation that we're in. As I say to the kids, when life gives you lemon, you have to make orange juice. So that's what we're doing here, is trying to make a little bit of orange juice. Okay, first off, I would like to apologize. I know that I have a very loud voice. And in the past, that has just disturbed my neighbors here at Allen Park High School, Mr. Bannock and Ms. Tomich. But it has come to my attention that that is now being beamed into your household. So if my exuberance or if my volume of voice is a disturbance in your household, I apologize. I can't promise that it's going to change, though. I do get very, very excited about American history. I get very excited being able to work with your students on a day-to-day basis. Okay, so that enthusiasm is something that I do try to bring on a day-to-day basis. So if it is distracting, I am very, very sorry. The first thing that I would like to do is I would like to start with a virtual tour of what I have in my classroom. Okay, so that's going to start off. First off, I'm going to show here, this is my calendar. My calendar looks very, very busy. I don't know if your student's calendar looks like this. But one thing I want to point out is at the very beginning of the year, I sent an invitation to your student to my classroom. All right, if they accepted that invitation, it is a repeating event. Okay, so here's my first hour APUSH class, 8:30 a.m. So if they accepted this, that would automatically populate to all of the days, all of the Mondays and Wednesdays for the rest of the year. Okay, so that's one link that they go and click on. If they click yes to that, then it automatically goes on there. If they accept notifications from their Google Calendar, then it's as easy as that. All right, I'm going to go ahead and take you over to my classroom here. So navigating down here into my Google Classroom. As this opens up. So this is I'm sure something that you are incredibly familiar with now at this point. This is how we have been conducting online learning here at Allen Park High School. And it's honestly, it's something that I've been using for a number of years, but I'm really starting to utilize its many functions as we're getting used to this. Okay, so first thing you're going to notice is classwork. In this classwork, I have things into a number of categories. Okay, review materials, in-class work, crash courses, which is a video that we use to review. John Green is incredibly helpful. Test corrections, which is something that I always allow students to do. Notes, class materials, and a daily doc. A little bit more on that as we go. All right. So everything that your student will need to be successful in the classroom is in this one spot. And it is very, very important that everything that we do does get turned into here. One thing that I'm doing that's brand new that I haven't done in the past is everything gets graded into the Google Classroom, and then from there it gets uploaded directly into MyStart. You may have noticed that there are no grades in the book for Advanced Placement U.S. History yet. That will change this weekend. I had students in my first hour take a unit exam this morning. Students that are in my fifth hour will take a unit exam tomorrow morning. And it's kind of my practice that the things building up to that unit exam get put in kind of around that same time. And that's kind of to kind of average out their grades a little bit. Tests tend to be a little bit harsh on students, more on that later. All right, but this is something that I kind of help to do to keep their morale up, to make sure that it's not sinking them. Okay, so this is everything that they will need for this. Okay, one thing that I want to show you, this is our every day. I start with the same thing. Okay, APUSH. This is actually from yesterday, September 15th. Okay, but this is what, if you were to walk into my classroom on my whiteboard, this is typically the things that I would keep up there. Okay, so we always have the date. We start every day by going over the things that we have going on. So this is house cleaning, random things. Okay, so one history project that was due today. That was for, I believe this is actually for my first hour class. So if your student is in my fifth hour class, then it's not due till tomorrow. And what that is, and I can, you feel free to ask them more about it. But what we do in APUS history is we study the very beginning of American history, 1491 to 1754, and then over the summer homework, I had them study the very end of American history, 1980 to present. I had them then look out their windows and see what's the thing that's going on in the world that they wish to better understand. Okay, they then kind of researched that topic and looked at what are the origins of that going back all the way to 1491, and then what are those things that we see like into the more recent history, into the 1980s to present. All right, as we go through American history, they're going to continue to add slides to that. So we just finished time period 2, which is 1607 to 1754. So they were going to make a slide saying how their topic fit into that. I would absolutely encourage you to ask your student about this. Okay, this is supposed to be kind of something that they're passionate about, something that they take an interest in, and they have done some wonderful, wonderful work with it. So it's very, very cool. Here's some review materials that I've put out to the students. A crash course, I kind of mentioned that in my Google Classroom very briefly. That's something that's put out by the author John Green, and it gives a very succinct history um, um, bites of American history. Okay, he's done all of American history going back to Columbian Exchange all the way up to I think 2016. That's incredibly useful. Joxy Productions is another thing. That's a APUSH history teacher out of California that does big reviews for whole time periods. And then finally, and this is very important, and I'm actually going to mention this later for you, my parents, I really encourage students to ask questions, especially in this online environment. I don't have the ability to have those day-to-day interactions with your child, especially being in the same room. And sometimes it can be a little bit more nerve-wracking for whatever reason to ask questions in person. I'm sorry, online rather than in person. So it's really important that as we go through and we're having confusions, we're having things that we don't understand, for your student to ask me questions because I tell them I cannot answer the unasked question. Okay, and I'll say the same for you, and I'll remind you again at the end. If you do have questions about me, my class, how this works, please, please, please do not hesitate to ask. I'm a very open person when it comes to that. One thing I'll put here, individual meetings. This is an assignment that was due today, and I'll actually show you this. Okay, so I made a spreadsheet. All students have access to this. And over the next 2 weeks, okay, starting next Monday, 9/21, and ending October 1st, I plan on meeting every single one of my APUS history teachers, students for a one-on-one meeting. Okay, this is really important for a lot of reasons. One, given that we're in an online setting, it is very difficult to kind of get that one-on-one that I might have in a classroom. All right, I might be able to walk up to your student in a classroom situation while we're doing independent work and just kind of see what they're doing, like checking on them. It's like, hey, that's really good. Did you think about this? All right, that's something that I kind of struggle with, and so this is something I'm trying to do in order to kind of rebuild that one-on-one thing that is so important in our classrooms. Other reason that this is very important is that writing is a huge part of this class. Being a skilled writer is something that is incredibly important to being successful on the APUS history test. And so it's the best way that I have found to giving that instruction for writing is to go over pieces of writing in a one-on-one situation. So when I come into this meeting with your child, I will have a number of essays that they've already written, some from the summer assignment, okay, some from this test that we just took, and we're going to kind of go over them. We're going to talk about the strengths, the weaknesses, things that they can do to improve, things that they did well. All right, those things of those nature. And I think that it's something that is incredibly beneficial. So again, I would make sure that I would check with your students and make sure that they are signing up for that. Okay, back to our day-to-day stuff. Okay, celebration of knowledge. Okay, so celebrations of knowledge, that's actually what I call tests. Test it's a 4-letter word in my vocabulary, okay? All right, it's a dirty word. It gives me anxiety when I think about it. I don't like using it. I know that students struggle with it. So in my class, instead of taking tests, we celebrate knowledge, okay? I view it as a party almost because they've worked so hard over the past couple of weeks trying to obtain this knowledge. It would be a shame. It'd be a shame if we weren't able to truly celebrate it. Okay, so that's what that is. And again, this is for my 5th hour class. So their celebration of knowledge is actually incorrect. It's going to be tomorrow, 9/17. And then we're going to have a second celebration of knowledge. Okay, this is going to be the SAQ, which stands for short answer question, that they will do this Friday in class. Okay, so that they're going to do that during their half-hour time block with me Friday. They will do that. One thing that I also want to point out here, guys, is that this is really important, and we talk about this literally every day, that it is very important that they treat themselves right, that they treat themselves correctly. All right, and the way that I think about this is APUSH is a marathon; it's not a sprint. Okay, if you're not taking care of yourself, you're not doing the things you need to do to stay healthy, then this class is going to start to wear on you, okay? So here's our list of priorities. Breathing, number 1. Eating right, 2. Getting enough sleep, 3. Family, number 4. Okay, so if they tell you that they can't do the dishes because they got APUSH homework, I'm sorry to say, family comes first, okay? That's part of family. And then fifth, we have APUSH. Okay, friends, other things, they happen after here. Okay, I understand that there's other classes going on. And I know that. I know that fits into your to this based off of that. However, this class takes a great deal of time, energy All right, and it's really important that they are kind of getting those priorities properly aligned. This is one that especially concerns me in times of COVID-19. All right. I know that sleep schedules are way out of whack, and that's something that really deeply affects us. Okay. So it's very important that they're getting enough sleep, that they're eating correctly, and then breathing. I'm going to talk about that in just a hot second here. But it's really important to me that they're doing these things. The thing that I emphasize to your students on a daily basis is that if for any reason they feel like they are not able to, if APUSH is crushing them, they feel like this is just becoming an outweighed part of their life. If for some reason APUSH is moving up this priority list and it's taking priority over sleep and eating and breathing even sometimes, then that's a problem and we need to address it. Okay, so that's where this questions come in. It's really important that they reach out to me because I don't know if that's happening unless I'm told that. So I will echo that to you. If you see that your student is stressed out, is that they're not doing well because of my class, I would very much ask that you reach out to me because the emotional and physical health of my students is a top priority. Okay. All right, Zen. All right, now this is a strange part of my presentation, but it's something that's really important to my instruction, and something that I think is very much worth talking about. Okay, maybe your students have mentioned this, but we start every class with 60 seconds of concentrated breathing. Okay, of mindful breathing, and although this may seem like something that has nothing to relate it to APUS history, in my view, it has everything to do with it. Science tells us that an anxious brain is unable to learn. And we can think of any situation that we've been in a stressful situation. If we're stressed out, we're worried, then we're not able to do the task that we need to at hand. All right. So this is something that I do with my students to try to help them get prepared, okay, for being in those stressful situations. Because they might not be stressed out when they come to my class. All right. We usually laugh, we tell jokes. Okay, we start by going over this big picture stuff. Okay, but we do this practice on a regular basis to help them prepare for that situation where they're going to need it. Now, this is something I've never done before. And I want to tell you, if this is not for you, okay, feel free to jump ahead in this video. Okay, you can jump ahead about 90 seconds. You're going to skip the moment of Zen. But I do want you to experience what it is that your students are going with on a daily basis. Okay, so if you're watching this with your student, okay, they're going to be my Zen ambassador. Okay, they're going to show you exactly how we do this. Okay, and we're going to do a moment of Zen together. Okay, so I have my Tibetan singing bowl here. Okay, we put our feet flat on the ground, put our hands flat on our lap or on the desk in front of us. We pull ourselves up nice and straight, like a regal posture, not stiff, just kind of like, proud, upright. We take a deep breath in. As we exhale, we feel our body relax into our chair. We're going to start off with a reminder that you can't turn your mind off. That's not possible. And as we're doing this moment of Zen, thoughts might start wandering into your head. Like, this is silly, okay? Why is this grown man sitting here, all right, with a brass bowl in his hand and asking me to do this? And that's totally fine. When you do notice yourself getting distracted, when you notice that your mind has wandered off, just notice that that's happened, and then gently and gradually bring your energy and attention back to your breathing and the reverberation of the. We're going to begin in 3, 2, 1. Move in whatever way is comfortable. Reach back, take a big breath. Blow it out slow. Okay, I fully recognize that that's weird. Okay, I get it. All right. But I've been doing this now for 6 years, and the overwhelming reaction that I've had from my students is it's something that helps them. And at the very least, it's 1 minute where they can have alone to their thoughts, where they're not being bombarded with assignments or responsibilities, or even just like the fact that they've got the blinking lights of a video game or music blaring in their head. It's just 1 minute to focus on themselves. Okay, so that's that. Okay. Another thing that I put up here every day is my student growth goal. Okay, so this is something that is you very well may be familiar with, but this is something that I put up here so that students are able to assess if they have learned the task at hand for each Google Meet. This is important in regular school when we're actually face to face, but I think it's especially important when we are in this remote space. All right, and so at the end of the day, my students should be able to look at this and say, huh, I did learn that. I feel better able to sort historically significant events in American history from 1491 to 1754 into social, political, interactive, cultural, and economic groups. I can do that. Awesome. All right. Or they might say, I have no idea what that means. Okay. Hopefully, I'm somewhere between those. Okay. But what the moral of the story is by having this up here, your student is able to evaluate themselves and know if they are learning the things that they're supposed to be learning on a day-to-day basis. Okay. This daily doc, and I'm just going to shoot right back over here to my Google Classroom real quickly. I'm going to go down to the daily doc section and show you this. This is something we do every single day. And this is something actually, I think that, and I'm going to talk about the broader skills that I want your students to walk away from my class with. But this is one of the things that I think is crucial because reading and analyzing primary and secondary sources, being able to do that on your own is the work of historians. Okay, so if your student is able to walk out of my APUS history class with this skill, they are now equipped to go into the world and to learn themselves. Okay, ideally, okay, it is the quote that I like very much is a student repays their teacher poorly by always remaining a student. All right. It is my hope that they will be able to move on from my classroom and they will no longer need my help or my guidance, that they will be able to do this for themselves. All right. And that is what I'm trying to do is to build independent analytical thinkers. Okay. So when we do this, I'll pull up one for you here. This is Whitefield Fascinates Franklin. This has to do with the Great Awakening. Okay, feel free to turn to your child right now and ask them about the Great Awakening because they either took a test on it today or will take it on tomorrow. Okay, pause the video. I'll let you go ahead and do that. Okay, we're back. All right. Okay, so this is an example of one of them when we do. They're short. Okay, but typically what we do is I give them about 8 minutes. They read this, and then what they do is they analyze this document using what we call the SOAP method. Okay, and that's it's an acronym that stands for speaker, occasion, audience, purpose. Okay, so they're better able to understand the motives of the speaker and how that influences their bias, the occasion. So what's the wider event that's surrounding that particular document? The audience, okay, and how that shapes their message, okay, because I'm clearly speaking to you differently because you're parents than I would if I was speaking to my colleagues or if I was speaking to students or if I was speaking to a symposium on the Great Awakening. All right, our audience shapes the message that we tell. All right, so that's important. And then ultimately the purpose. What's the main idea of the article or the document? Okay, so that's my daily doc. Okay, I will say also, usually what my class consists of is we'll do this daily doc. We'll go over all the stuff that we just did. We'll go over the daily doc. We'll analyze that. We'll talk about it. We'll share it out. I'll usually do some form of mini lesson. I try to keep this short in class. Okay, I'm actually might play along with doing a bigger version of this next week. Okay, but usually this is just like the 10 to 15 meat and potatoes. What do you need to do to complete the task that I'm asking you to do? So on this particular day, I taught about the different categories that we sort historical events into: social, political, interactive, cultural, economic. All right. Then, typically speaking, I will put them into groups, okay, where they will go and complete the task in groups or independently, depending on what that flavor of that exercise is that day. All right. And then usually we'll come back and share it out depending on if we have enough time. On this particular day, this went right up to the bell. Okay. So I had to evaluate them by looking at the products that they produced in here. Whole group share out. We actually didn't get to this on this particular day. Okay, so that's a little bit about my digital space. Okay, feel free to ask me any questions about that. Okay, so some things to remember about APUS history. All right, and I know I'm very happy. Okay, this is my first year. I have 4 seniors taking this class. Okay, but most of my students are sophomores. And And for most of those sophomores, this is their first experience with an AP US history class. Okay, I'm sorry. It's everybody's first experience with AP US history, first experience with advanced placement. All right. So the first thing that I need you to know about APUSH is that it is a college level course. All right. Theoretically, and I'm actually working on doing this. I'm working on my master's degree at University of Detroit Mercy. One of the things that I'm doing is I'm building a unit that is for my APUSH class, but theoretically, and not theoretically, I should be able to teach that at the college level. All right, so the unit that I am preparing right now, it's on the American Dream and how that developed in the early 1800s, is going to be taught to your students, but it is also going to be taught at a freshman level class at the University of Detroit Mercy. Okay, so I want you to think about that for a second. All right, so your 13-year-old child, 14, 15, I don't know, 17 maybe, all right, they're doing material that I would also expect 19-year-olds, okay, at the University of Detroit Mercy to also be able to do. So this is very challenging. All right. And I'm going to tell you, I have very high expectations. Your child was selected for this course. Okay. So they were selected because I fully expect that they should be able to complete the requirements of it. All right. And so this is challenging. All right. And you very well may be used to seeing only A's and maybe the occasional A minus. I need you to be mentally prepared. Okay. That you might see a B. Okay. You might see, God forbid, a C plus. And that is fine, especially early on. Okay. And the ultimate thing is that we are working towards them being able to take this giant exam in May 5th. In May. It might be May 5th. I actually don't remember the exact day. Okay. And I'm preparing them for that. Okay. So that's the thing that we're ultimately trying to get them to. We are working towards a specific goal, which is a little bit different than other courses. All right. Now I will say, if you do see that C, okay, if you do see that C and you panic because you've never seen a C on Johnny's, I don't have a Johnny, I don't think, grade book before, know that it gets better, okay? For my on-level classes, my expectations start here, all right, and kids start here. For APUS history, my expectations start here and kids start here, and they will gradually work up to that expectation, all right? So if you see a C after this unit of test, okay, that's fine. I will tell you the two highest grades in the class were 71%, okay? And those were from really good students that worked really hard for that, all right? Okay, and that is actually completely normal. If on the APUS history test, you get a 50% on the multiple choice section, you're on track to get a 3, which will earn you college credit, all right? And my tests are as hard as that test, okay? Just smaller versions of it. Okay, so know that it'll get better and don't panic if you see a C, all right? And the big thing to remember is that it's a marathon, not a sprint. Okay. So if in the early phases it doesn't seem like that we're catching on and we're doing it, it's okay. All right. As long as your student is communicating with me, as long as they are asking questions, as long as you are asking questions, we will get them to the place that they need to be. I promise. Okay. Final things that I think that would help me. All right. One thing actually before I move on. And I didn't put this on here, and I totally meant to. It's really important that you know, and I mentioned this earlier, that although we are working towards taking this exam in May, that is not my ultimate goal. I honestly think it's kind of silly to work towards that, but that's the thing that's going to get them out college credit, and that's going to get them paid, okay? And I'll help them with that. But really the thing that's going to help them be successful on that test is learning these skills that are going to make them successful independent students, okay? That is what I'm really working towards. I'm working towards them being able to ask difficult questions, okay, about their own learning, okay, about being able to identify what are the gaps, what are the things that they can improve on, okay, being able to develop writing skills. It's something I'm really proud of as a teacher, is that I think that I do an exceptional job training my students and being good writers. Okay, so these are all things that I want you to know, is I'm not teaching to the test, that I'm teaching to make your student an independent thinker and learner. All right. Okay. Finally, a couple things that help me out. Okay. It's really important, and I understand that there's limits to this. Okay. So please do not feel bad if I know that some of you have multiple learners that are all in the same space, and it's really hard to give one student, one of your children, a quiet, specific place to do this. And I get it. But if you can, environment matters. Okay, there's a reason I'm coming to you from my classroom, okay? Because this environment is what is helpful for me to get into the mindset to teach your students. So it's really important that they have an environment where they can get into the mindset of being a learner. Okay, that they have a pen or a pencil, piece of paper, a desk to write on, that they are able to do this. All right. If they're doing it from their bed, that's fine. It's better to probably have a chair. I'm just saying. Okay. I struggle to be productive in my bed. That's why I'm not. Okay. I get out of bed, I come here. All right. So that's something that can be very helpful for me. Cameras on. Okay. And this is something that is actually in my Google form, which I'll talk about shortly. It is incredibly helpful to me if I can see your child. Okay, if I see your student, I will tell you this right now. If your student, you can go ahead, pause the video, ask them if they keep their camera on during my class. Okay, now whatever they said, you can feel free to email me and double check if that's true. All right, I will tell you. All right, if their camera is on, I can almost promise you that they're learning more in my classroom. I can promise you that. There's a few reasons why. Okay, one reason why is that I have been training for the last 8 years of my life to teach kids that I can physically see. So when I see Johnny going like, I know that I have said something incredibly confusing to Johnny, and I need to go back, revisit it, say it again, all right, so that Johnny understands it. And usually if Johnny's making that face, and there's always a Johnny. There's always a Johnny that is just really expressive. Then other kids are feeling that too. The second thing is it helps keep them accountable, all right? And honestly, as an adult, when I am on meetings, video conferencing, and my camera is off, I feel like the liberty to maybe just click on that other tab that I got open. You know, maybe finish that email, okay? All right, maybe check the online game of chess that I'm playing. I don't know, just for a second, all right? Okay, if I have my camera on, I'm very self-conscious that I don't want that to happen. All right. So it also makes sure that they are accountable for what they're doing, that they're present and able to complete the things that they need to complete. All right. So it is tremendously helpful if they have their camera on. The final reason that it's helpful is that if they want to raise their hand, I'm more likely to be able to see them and be able to call on them versus someone just unmuting their mic and I'm not be able to hear that. So I'm never going to make a child turn on their camera. Never going to happen. I won't do it because I understand that not everybody wants to broadcast where they live. Not everybody wants to. Some people get self-conscious being on camera. I get that. Okay. But it is helpful to me if they have it on. Okay, please ask questions too. And this is part of this. I have a Google form. It's actually in the description box of this YouTube video. So if you could click on that, I think it's also in the email that I sent out, or it will be. I haven't sent it out yet, obviously. All right. So if you could click on that, fill it out. It's just a couple of real short questions. And one of the questions, I'll actually put this up here right here. One of the questions is what are the biggest concerns about APUSH for your student? Please, please, please feel free to, and I'm going to add a question right now. Okay, what questions do you have? Okay, please put that in here. I will get back to you. I want to know what I can do to best serve your students. Okay, that is all I have for today. I'm sorry if this was a little bit long. Okay, I tend to be a little bit long-winded. I want you to know that I'm having a blast with your students. Okay, it's a fun group of kids. They seem super bright. So I'm excited for this year. And again, don't hesitate to reach out. Okay, bye.